You're at a flower shop?
Shawarma.
Oh, a shawarma shop. What did you see at the shawarma shop?
How did you know they were selling flowers?
Sorry, I couldn't hear because the music was playing. What were you saying?
Oh, nothing.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Mission Stories. It's a podcast, and we discuss funny, interesting, strange mission stories or whatever else Lyndon and I want to talk about.
Whatever else.
You know what I realized? There's at least one other podcast that does exactly, based on what our prescribed premise was in the beginning. There's one other podcast that I know of that does this. But you know what else I realize?
What's that?
That podcast doesn't have you and I.
No, it does not.
This is about... This is like a metatextual commentary of our friendship, recorded live. We have cameras now, by the way. Say hello to your camera, Lyndon.
Hello, camera.
We're gonna try recording this on video. Maybe we'll put it on YouTube. If it's good, you'll see the footage on YouTube. Oh, and guess what else is new?
What else?
We have a website.
Oh, yeah, the website.
We have a website. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a website. It's called, you guessed it, themissionsstoriespodcast.com.
Oh, yeah.
We've entered the digital age.
.com millionaires, I say.
We are not millionaires yet.
There's gonna have to be a link on the website for the videos.
There is a place where you can see some. Basically, I put our original sketches that we did on the page, so you can see those. They're all called mission stories. The first sketch we did was called Mission Stories, and it was about mission stories.
I feel like, do the true and faithful really know about the mission stories?
I don't think
I feel like
do.
we allude to them
We
all the
do,
time.
yeah.
But we've never really given them the right plug they deserve.
No, and now everyone has a chance to actually go and watch those in their full glory on themissionstoriespodcast.com. See, this is great. Now, for the listeners only, we just winked at the camera. So yeah, you can check it out. Themissionstoriespodcast.com. The website is on the Instagram, The Mission Stories Podcast. I made a Facebook page. I haven't invited anyone to like it yet, so it's just this creepy old page sitting by itself. No one's really paying attention to it. But
do we really need Facebook? I think we get like a little discussion board going on the website.
Ooh, good idea. Yeah, then you can discuss
and it'll take over Facebook.
Our failings
Instead of people going onto Facebook,
yeah,
they'll go to the missionsstoriespodcast.com instead.
And then other people will start coming to the missionsstoriespodcast.com for their Facebook type needs.
Yeah, we'll just take all the same functionality.
Yeah.
But it'll be mission stories.
It'll all be Mormon, and it'll all be and people will love it. It will be .com thousandaires.
Oh.
I feel like I'm relying way too much on the camera right now with like facial gestures and things like that to fill in the gap. Did you have any... Oh, you know what we have a lot of today actually is feedback. We have some feedback, and now is going to come... Lyndon, I need you to fill some time here while I set up the emails.
So you haven't done that yet.
I haven't done it yet. I'm a lazy podcaster. We all know this. Of course, we did just spend the last 15 minutes setting up my apartment to look like a beautiful podcasting studio, and it is beautiful.
Glorious.
Oh, here's another piece of news.
What's that?
Now we're on Google Play.
I don't know what that is.
Do you know what that is?
I have no idea what that is.
I don't know how it is. I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to check if it's actually like working or like I think you have to pay for it, but it's free to post the podcast. So if you use Google Play, it's available for you now.
Right. So let's see. You want me to tell the story of the job interview, or are you ready?
Tell us about your job interview, but I am ready.
We don't have to.
All right. You're like, I don't want to get into it. Yeah, like, what if they listen to this? Because the story is that you told someone in your job interview about this podcast.
Yeah.
So it's very likely that they have already listened to some of these episodes.
I don't think so. I think they loved the idea that I do a podcast.
Yeah.
And I gave them a free preview of the story I'm going to tell this episode.
Right.
And they loved it. They just ate it up.
Yeah.
And they thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like a lot of people think it's great and they don't listen.
That's true. Yeah.
And a lot of people do listen and think it's great.
Speaking of those
Bless
people,
them.
Speaking of those people who listen and think it's great, I think we lost we have 3 really faithful listeners. I feel like we said something last episode that maybe upset them a little bit.
I can't imagine.
You said, and I...
we said, Troy, we're in this together.
I blindly backed you up, as I want to do, that only accountants or mainly accountants listen to this podcast. That got some blowback. People got upset.
I can't see why.
Here's why. First email is from Alex Williams. The subject line reads, quote, "I'm not an accountant." And the body of the email says, "See subject. True and faithful listener, Alex Williams." So I think what he's trying to say here is, don't you dare pigeonhole me into some sort of category that I don't fit into.
True. But we all know Alex Williams is a drama king.
He is a drama king. The king of drama. Our next email, okay, I haven't read this. I'm just going to read it out loud.
Here we go.
Okay.
Who's it from?
I will say at the end. Then I'll say at the end who it's actually from. Hello. Hey, my fellow friends. Good podcast this week. But I hate to inform you, I'm not an accountant. I hate numbers. I also think that most of Denny's never listened to a single podcast and just ripped it. I will throat punch them all. These are...
I think I know who this is.
These are just blatant threats on air. Also, Troy, I was intensely hearing every word you said at Denny's. Thanks, man. Those fart stories are always so funny. Also, I believe the longer you are on the mission, planning just gets worse because nothing works out. But that was just me. Well, I have nothing else to say. Keep up the good work. Your loyal listener, all caps, Jason Alexander, George Costanza?
What?
George Costanza from Seinfeld?
Jason Alexander?
Wait a sec. Oh, no. It's from our good friend, Jeremy Olson.
Oh, Jeremy.
Friend of the podcast, Jeremy Olson. My girlfriend also, she had the same complaint. She said the exact same thing, that she's not an accountant. And she's not. And she listens to it.
Well, I mean, obviously I was making a sweeping generalization.
You were. Is this the chance you want to take to apologize to everyone, Lyndon?
Never.
You heard it here first, folks. Lyndon will never apologize. That's what I like. That's what I like about you. Any topical topics that you're aware of that we wanna dive into?
You know, I will say this.
Okay.
I'm glad there are people that are not accountants listening to this podcast.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's my apology.
We're good. All right. Is that because accountants are typically sort of like, ho-hum sort of people, and they're just kind of like, womp womp. And if they enjoy it, it's like, is there something wrong with the podcast? We need to switch it up.
No.
Make them not want to be part of our listenership.
All listeners are welcome.
Good.
Accountant or non-accountant.
Or otherwise.
The two type of people that I categorize this world.
There's, two types of people in this world. People who think in binary and those who don't. Really leaning too heavy on the cameras here. There's a lot of silent moments that I think are going to hopefully play well on camera. But to the listener, they're checking their iPhone, seeing if it's still working. I have some stories. I went digging through my mission journal.
I have yet to do that.
You got to do it, man.
I don't want to crack open that.
It's weird.
That tome of
Dude,
I don't know. I don't know what I would feel.
I thought I was gonna feel what's the word, like good about things, or like I would remember things very like fondly, but I was like transported to a different time and place where I just wasn't very happy. Like it was so clear from those journals that I was just kind of in a weird headspace. But there are some funny things that came from that. I think there's some, and it was good to sort of compile them. Some of these stories are just like one sentences, or like I'll picked out like one or two things that I said in the journal that were funny to me at the time. So and then you have a story about a snow truck.
Yeah.
A snow plow.
No.
No. Was there snow in Arizona?
You know what?
I feel like that's a rhetorical question.
Believe it or not,
yes,
there is.
Wow. In the mountains, I presume.
In the mountains.
In the mountains. Tell me about.
You want to hear that?
Yeah, tell me about the snow. I want to hear about the snow. What's it like? Is it thick?
It's kind of thick and
Light?
syrupy. In a way, only desert snow could be. No.
Sand and snow mixed together.
No, I will tell you this. This is one of the happy-go-lucky stories that
your mother would enjoy.
My mom approved.
Mom approved.
Because she was so proud. Because the first time she heard this story was from someone in Texas.
Oh.
Legend of my deed had spread all the way to Texas.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, "Are you the mom of Elder Naglis?" She's like, "Yeah, I am."
I am.
I think actually she was a little hesitant. Like she's like, "Oh no." She's like, "This is gonna go one of two ways." And then they're like, "Let me tell you this legendary story."
Yeah. And even that's kind of iffy, hearing that.
Wow.
Legendary. Well, let's wait to
It's
hear.
like, let's hear about stories from Elder Naglis in the mountains where I did my most heinous and my greatest acts.
Okay. The pendulum swung both ways.
Yeah. So there was a big old mission conference. It was Christmas.
Yeah.
They were gonna. It was a big deal. They're like, we're having a mission-wide Christmas conference.
Right.
Because normally they'd be like, the missionaries in the mountains and the missionaries in Yuma, stay where you are. We don't care about you. You live too far away.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, unity time at Christmas. Everybody's coming into the valley. I think we were meeting in Gilbert or something.
Okay.
And so that meant that the missionaries in the mountains, and we all had our little trucks, they're like, we're going to let them drive in. Because it was a bit of a hassle. It's like December 20th or something. They're like, we're not going to get members to drive you down. They already drive us down for transfers.
Yeah.
So they're like, we can't have them drive them down just for a little day trip for a conference. It's too much. So they're like, you're going to be allowed to drive your own trucks down.
Ooh.
And we're like, oh boy. Because that meant we were going to drive down in a convoy down the Rio Salado Canyon. And if you're like, never heard of the Rio Salado Canyon, imagine the Grand Canyon, but smaller. Just as spectacular.
How much smaller?
A lot smaller.
Like, yay big. So big.
We'll say 10 times smaller.
10? Okay.
It's hard to say. The Grand Canyon's huge.
I've never been to the Grand Canyon. I don't quite have a scale. I know it's like bigger than you think it would ever be.
Right.
It truly is a Grand Canyon.
Yeah. I've only ever seen it when the pilot was like, hey, if you look to your left, you'll see the Grand Canyon. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, you can see it from 30,000 feet up.
I'm going to look back at my iPod now. Go to sleep.
I'm going to go look back at my copy of the Book of Mormon because I was a missionary on that flight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
And so as it was winter, it was like an El Nino year. You know,
The boy.
Yeah. And so it was like about billions. Sorry. Troy just winked at the camera. I don't know why.
I wanted to, I know Spanish, y'all. El Nino, the boy.
Yeah.
El Loco Nino, the crazy boy.
It was just massive moisture from the Gulf of Mexico comes through Arizona. So it was actually just massive rainstorms in the valley, which I wasn't there. I had no idea about that. So we had a massive snowfall in the mountains.
Yeah.
It was just like feet and feet and feet. Meters, almost.
Meters.
But we didn't use the metric system.
In Canadian measurement.
Yeah. Like,
what do Americans use? Like, Is it feet, and then what's the next thing? Yards?
Yeah. Then miles.
That seems weird.
Well, you know,
How much is a yard?
They do like quarter miles.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Use a meter. And then use 1,000 meters.
Well, I know, because any time this thing would be like, oh, it's like a quarter mile to the next exit, I'd be like 400 meters. I was like, I don't know what a quarter mile is, but I know what 400 meters is.
Do you know what 400 meters is?
Yeah.
I don't think I could measure that.
Well, it's one lap around a track and field, loop.
Dude, I don't know how to I don't know.
I guess you didn't really play sports, did you, Troy?
Well, I ran around a track once or twice, literally once or twice.
Yeah.
But like those movies when they're like, I think it was Jarhead, where they're like, use whatever you know to try to understand how far away something is. You know football fields? Use football fields. I'm like, I don't know how far a football field is, let alone 400 meters. It's 100 yards is a football field.
Yeah.
We're getting way off track.
Or 120 for Canadian football.
I don't know. I'm not a sports guy, as you said, Lyndon.
Troy doesn't know anything about sports. He's a real nerd.
Cue our studio audience laughing at me. You can laugh at home if you like.
No, I'm going to get in trouble for shaming you for not knowing about sports.
I like to be shamed for not knowing about sports.
But yeah.
I like the attention. That's why we're doing this podcast.
Fathoms. That's a measurement, right?
I think that's a deep sea.
Isn't it like 12? What's 12 feet?
12 fathoms. I swear it's like a deep sea, 12 fathoms deep.
Well, I'm just saying.
40,000 leagues.
In the
Or
Hobbit.
leagues, perhaps?
Leagues, yes.
That's
leagues
that's
is
a book. Yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact about that. When he says like 20,000 leagues under the sea, that's not a measurement of depth because like the core of the earth is like not even 20,000 leagues away. That's the distance they traveled while under the sea.
Oh.
Like I said, we're always going to do a close analysis of literature on this podcast.
That's so cool.
But anyways.
What was the story you were telling?
So there was a lot of snow in the mountains.
A lot of snow.
Like we were like filming us like diving into snowbanks and like getting trapped and we'd have to like dig our way out or die.
Is this? I'm assuming this is one of the videos your mom deleted.
No, that one's still on there.
It's still on there? Do I have that on my computer?
I think you could probably throw that up on Instagram.
I'll throw it
It's
up.
literally me like not being able to breathe and I have to like reach into the snowbank and like pull my head out. My companion was filming it, and he was just at the precipice of being worried about me when I pulled myself out.
Elder Naglis?
So that should give everyone an idea of how much snow there was.
A lot.
To the point that they're like, oh, the Canadian here, you must feel like you're right at home. And I'm like, no. I was like, Calgary actually does not get a lot of snow. And like we had a neighbor with a tractor have to,
we get snow.
This March was an exception. We had a record snowfall in March of this year. So everyone's like, we get a ton of snow. We're like, that is unusual.
It did seem it just kept coming back too.
Point is, the snow in Arizona was right up there with the most snow I'd ever seen.
Okay.
And I was trying to break down the stereotype that, Canada's a frozen wonderland.
Right.
So we get told we all get to drive down for this conference in our trucks. And I see that the bed of our truck is already filled with snow. And I know that even in December, the valley is like still like 21 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
So it's still going to be warm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what? And I got the other elders in my district. I was like, pack in as much snow as you can into the back of your truck. Like, squish it down, pack it in, have that thing fully weighed down with snow.
Yeah.
And I think I might have been the only one to do it. That's why I became the legend. But anyway, so then we go down as a convoy. Mm-hmm. My companion from Florida was like, Elder, you better drive. I don't know how to drive in the snow. And I was like, perfect. And we bombed down the mountains through that Rio Salado Canyon. We're going like 100 miles per hour through this canyon. Like, it was like foolish.
Oh, man.
Like, we're just like we're like an entire zone of missionaries can't die at once, right?
God wouldn't let that happen, would he?
He couldn't allow that. So we just recklessly ripped through this canyon.
Jesus jumped off the precipice and wanted angels to catch him. That's how that story went, right?
Basically.
Yeah.
Like, there were times where I'm just like, this is unreasonable what we're doing.
Yeah.
But we just...
And you were leading the way.
No.
Okay.
No. I was, I think I was in second. I wanted to be near the front. Well, the whole reason why is we're like, we can't have this snow melt. So we're like, we have to drive record time to get to this conference.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like all the missionaries who didn't pack their snow in and just filled it up, by the time we got down there, it had all melted.
Yeah.
But Elder Naglis, in his wisdom, packing the snow down. Yeah. By the time we got down there, I still had the bed of my truck or the box of the truck, depending on where you're from, full of snow. And so the entire mission after this conference got outside and had the biggest, like 160 missionaries, had a giant snowball fight in the desert of Arizona.
Wow.
It was legendary. The mission president was not happy. It was just like, he had no control over the situation. It was like,
it was like a scene from Animal House.
Yeah. And I'm just like sitting on top of my truck. And I'm just like, yes. Yes.
It's like that scene from Shawshank where he like gets the guys a bunch of brews for, I don't know, fixing the guy's taxes or something. And he's just like hanging back while everyone enjoyed their brew. In this case, a snowball fight.
Yeah. And so
Andy Dufresne over here.
So everyone had such a good time.
Yeah.
I'm sure they still tell the story down there in Arizona.
That's a cool story. Sorry, I cut you off.
This is exactly what I wanted the cameras for, so I can just nod at you.
Yeah. It's just going to be a lot of like non-verbal communication.
So that's the story of the snow trucks.
I love it. So yours was the only truck that made it through.
I think so. Because, yeah, the ones that didn't pack down their snow all melted.
So it was just like full of water? Did it hold the water? Or was it like leaking out the whole time?
The water would just drain out.
Right.
And so...
That's why you got to put a tarp in there so you can have like a redneck hot tub.
Yeah, we didn't think about that.
Should have thought about that.
Like, I think there was still
Next
leftover snow. Like, people had exhausted themselves
Yeah.
in this massive snowball fight. And there was still, like, leftover snow.
Wait, so your mom was proud of this?
Yeah. I brought joy at Christmas.
Joy to the hearts of missionaries everywhere. Not everywhere, in
The entire
Arizona.
mission.
Yeah.
And it was, the novelty, right? Like a snowball fight in Arizona.
Yeah. Novelty factor is off the charts.
Like, imagine how much you would have to pay someone. Like, if you were like, you can market anything.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll bring a snowball fight to you in the middle of Arizona. People would pay thousands of dollars for that.
Did you get paid any money for this?
Of course not.
Of course not. That's so cool. I have
Literally,
I have a counter story to that cool story.
Is it a hot story?
I got a hot story.
I want to hear this hot story.
Let me just look at my notes here. This story was so here. I don't know if you could do that. Coca-Cola, different flavors now. You're about to say something. Okay, so I looked in the front of my journal, or the beginning. I started at the beginning, naturally, which was my first transfer, MTC, that sort of thing. One of the stories that I found was, so here it goes. We went to a dinner, and at this dinner, I was a brand new missionary. I was meek. I was sheepish. I didn't know. I wasn't sure of myself, and I'm just sort of like meandering through the mission field.
Like a foal still trying to learn its legs.
Like a foal trying to learn its legs. I just, I got my scriptures that are like a little protector for me, and I'm just like, my companion's doing all the talking, and I'm just like, I'm just here. And which sucks because it's like, as a tall if you're like tall and shy, it's like weird, because it's harder to hide.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're at this dinner, and they're like, we're having cabbage rolls. You ever had a cabbage roll before?
Oh, yeah.
Do you like them?
I think they're all right.
They're disgusting. They're horrible. This
Now
was like
we're gonna have all our Ukrainian listeners
yeah, I'm sorry.
be like,
But they are gross. You know that
fire
they are.
that man.
Yeah. Next week it'll be Lyndon and someone else taking over, Jeremy Olson,
Lyndon and Jeremy.
coming to my apartment and recording. So anyway, cabbage rolls, and they were in this pan full of like sauce, right? And the sauce is like it's pretty full of the sauce, and so they're like, "Help yourselves, elders." And so I go to like pick up the lid, like cinches my fingers. I'm
Wow.
like, "This is upsetting."
Turns your fingers into cabbage rolls.
I had little cabbage roll fingers. They're like, "Oh, sorry about that," and then they like take the lid off. I'm like, "Sorry, go ahead, help yourself." And so I'm like, I don't know, I didn't
So
learn.
then you just grab your hand.
Yeah, I stick my face right in the cabbages. Close to that. I take a fork, a skinny little fork,
Oh boy.
and I like go underneath it, and it's like wobbling on my fork. And I don't know why I just like left. It was so much hang time. I was just like, ugh. It drops into this like gallon deep of cabbage roll sauce and splashes everywhere, most notably all over my hand and arm.
2nd degree burns.
It was. And I hold, you ever like get burned and you like hold it in for a bit because you're like in public? Because that's what it was. I was like amongst all these people. I hadn't said 2 words. And what am I going to do? Scream out some obscenity because I had just like been burned really badly? Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
What? Oh really?
I don't know. I can't remember what I said.
Did
But
you say like, golly gee willikers?
It was like, son of a biscuit maker. They like biscuits down in Georgia. So I didn't know it splashes on me. I'm like, yeah. And just like, held my hand, like screamed at it for a bit. And then anyway, they sprayed it. It was fine the next day. I ascribed it. I remember in the journal, I ascribed it to being a miracle. That
Do they just like run it under cool water or something?
I don't think you're supposed to do that.
Not with these 2nd degree burns.
Your skin will peel off. Haven't you ever seen We Were Soldiers? Have you seen? Oh my gosh, they like pick up this guy.
Right. Like the napalm or something.
Yeah, the napalm, and then they pick up a guy by his legs, and all the skin comes off.
Like barbecue chicken.
Oh boy! Today's episode brought to you by Barbecue Chicken. Like napalm legs. Oh boy. So that's one of my stories. I have a lot of like.
Why didn't they just give you like a serving device?
I don't know. Honestly, it was just like a
spoon.
fork. Here's another question: why didn't I just stab it? Why did I?
Well, you weren't
scoop
sure about the consistency of these
I
rolls.
wasn't sure. Plus, I was afraid of. I think they were very tightly wrapped.
Right.
So I was afraid of stabbing it and having it go right into my eyeball.
I think they literally pulled it out of the oven
I think they
as like you were saying the opening prayer. Put it down and said, "Have at it, elders."
have at it. And
Considering it was America, you probably could have sued them.
I probably should have. I still might be able to. Probably not. I think my companion went for it and he did it perfectly. Like I think he got one out like just no problem.
Well, he was a seasoned vet of dinner appointments.
Of dinner appointments. And then I do it and it just goes horribly wrong. And then I just remember like that whole dinner, my hand, it was like eating, but my hand was all gnarled and burnt from this cabbage sauce. It's awful.
Terrible.
Just awful. That wasn't, if nothing else, that story was short.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in Arizona, they don't feed you boiling hot food.
Really?
Because it's like...
It's boiling hot outside.
It's boiling hot outside.
Yeah. What do they feed you?
Well, let me tell you.
Tell me.
I did not, in my entire, 103 weeks that the mission ends up being or whatever, I think I ate chicken, like Gringo chicken enchiladas. I'm blocking it out from my memory, what it actually is. It's like cream of mushroom soup, chicken.
Oh, yeah.
Rolled up in tortillas and then
Yeah.
coated in cheese.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's not Mexican food at all.
No.
And it's like just a real white person version of a Mexican food.
Yeah. And you had that all the time.
Like there's not a week that I didn't eat it. And there was one week I ate it 5 or 6 times.
5 or 6 times.
Yeah, and then you want to know the worst part?
Yeah.
On my mission homecoming open house thing that my parents put on for me. Guess what my mom made?
Gringo chicken.
Gringo
enchiladas.
chicken enchiladas. And I specifically said, don't you dare make that. I will lose my marbles.
And then she's like, what did he say about making that?
I think she said it was his favorite thing, and he ate it all the time.
He wanted it. Okay, yeah. That sounds like a good name for this episode. Like, it's a very small portion of it so far. Maybe we should keep talking about it more. But I like that. Gringo chicken enchiladas.
Yeah. Like, not a hint of spice in it. No chilies, no hot sauce. Like, it was an affront to Mexican food.
Mexican culture.
You want to talk about cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Those enchiladas.
Dangerously appropriated.
Yeah.
Whew, I don't even want to think about that.
So I've never eaten those since my mission.
I'm trying to think of what we ate most.
And brownies and ice cream. Every dessert is like brownies and ice cream.
Did you like that? I
was not offended by that.
No, that sounds great. I had a peach cobbler, like a true Georgia peach cobbler once. This lady, the first lady, this kind of ties in. The first lady the first and only lady that I personally baptized. Maybe I'll tell that story. It's on my little list here.
I'm just having an idea right now.
Sure.
Have you seen the YouTube show Binging with Babish?
No.
It's where this YouTube chef makes all the food that's in like TV and movies. Mm-hmm. I think you'd really like it because you really like TV and movies.
I do.
And you probably also like food because everyone likes food.
I like food.
And I'm just like, we could do Binging with
We know you're still there. We know you're there.
We're just referencing the cameras.
Referencing the cameras. Sorry.
Hello, friends.
Hey.
Watching this podcast.
Yeah.
It's like we could throw that on the YouTube. We just like make things that they fed us on the mission.
Yeah. It would be
a little cooking show.
Do you know how to make food? Because I still don't.
And then I would just like be traumatized as I make these Gringo chicken enchiladas.
Just full of your tears as you cry over them.
But that part of his thing is he tries to make it exactly like they describe it in like a TV show, like Eggs Woodhouse from Archer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Which is like a monstrosity of food.
Yeah.
And then he's like, let's actually try to make this so that it's good.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, we make it exactly how we got it on the mission. Then we're like, no, let's make a better version.
I got a lot of barbecue, and it was really good. I don't know how you can improve on it.
Probably not.
Barbecue, like pulled pork, pulled beef, shredded chicken, full chickens, corned beef.
Now we got to get a smoker. We got to get a smoker for this podcast.
A lot of corn-based meals.
Got to get that Patreon up.
Cornmeal. Patreon. Haven't done that yet. Soon enough.
So this lady you baptized.
Lady I baptized. One thing I will note about my journals from the beginning of my mission, and I think throughout, I haven't reread the rest of them. I was a very earnest young man. I was very sincere. I really was. I was a true believer. And
TBM, they say.
Yeah, and I was really to the point of like. I don't know. It was. I just wanted to like go back in time and tell myself, "Hey, buddy, relax. Everything's fine.
Cool your jets.
Everything's okay." I honestly used to think that if we shared or gave anyone an opportunity to learn about the gospel, gave them a first lesson and committed them to anything, and they refused, that was it. That was their chance. They're damned. And this is the sort of.
Are you saying that's not true?
I don't think it is. What's that statistic? Like it takes 7 contacts before someone is willing to like listen to missionaries, something like that.
I'm unfamiliar with that statistic.
That flies in the face of the idea that it's one and done. You're going to outer darkness. You don't want to listen to 2 young men talk about something they barely know any more about than you. You're done.
Good luck.
So this was my mindset. But so when we first met this woman, her name is Pam. And Pam was this older woman, and her son had recently died earlier that year, and her house had burned down.
She was ripe.
She was right. She had all this terrible stuff happen. And then we came across her and we kind of like developed a relationship with her and we became friends and we started to teach her. And this was the first time I had... Okay, so here's like a sub point. Did you know about the Kikuchi method? Does that sound familiar to you at all?
That sounds like something you'd hear on Urban Dictionary.
Robert, I think his name is Robert Kikuchi, was a 70, this Japanese 70, and he had this method for presenting the first lesson and most notably the first vision, Joseph Smith's story. And I think if my memory serves me, the method is essentially you tell the story, or no, you prep them before the first vision by saying, pay attention to how you feel, because you're going to feel something. And then you read like Fruits of the Spirit verse, and then you do and I saw a pillar of light exactly over my head. And then afterwards you're like, what did you feel? And then, or it's like, how do you feel right now? And they're supposed to, if it goes right, they're supposed to be like, I feel like warm and fuzzy. And we're like, that's the Spirit. Will you get baptized?
Right.
But I remember there was like a lot of times where most of the time it was just funny responses where we'd be like, so how do you feel? They'd be like, I feel kind of sick, to be honest. My head's kind of lightheaded.
Like you're a doctor.
Yeah, kind of stomach kind of hurts.
They're giving you...
A little technical difficulty there, but we're back now. So we were talking about the Kikuchi method, and this, which was a method for committing people to be baptized, and so. But we got this method, and we were instructed to use it. And I was a brand new missionary, and my companion were teaching her, and one lesson, Pam, we're teaching Pam, and my companion looks over at me and like gives me like the nod, like do it. Commit
It's
her.
a go.
Commit her. And so I do the whole thing, and lo and behold, works like a charm. She says yes to baptism. Mm-hmm. I had, just so happy about this. Side story, I think a few days later, we ran into someone else and we did the same thing, and we committed them again using the Kikuchi method. They said yes too. I didn't know this at the time, but we would never see that person again. But in my journal, I have this note where I'm just like, wow, the Kikuchi method is so good. 2 for 2. It works every time.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Every time. So yeah, we never saw that woman again. But Pam did end up getting baptized. And guess who baptized her? This
Elder
guy.
Kikuchi.
Elder Kikooper. The Kikooper method. If the Kikooper method is a way of baptizing someone, no one should ever use it, because the way that I baptized her, I never physically baptized another person again. Any other baptism on my mission, I got someone else to do it.
Okay, yeah. Not unusual.
You should, I suppose. But so here's what happened. We're in the water, and I do the thing. I'm like, baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. And then I go to like dunk her under. Her feet kind of leave the bottom of the font, and now she's just floating it to the top. She's just like on top of the water. And I'm just like, what do I do? And so mind you, her head is still under the water the whole time, though.
Right.
Her head's under the water, but her body's sort of like coming up. And I'm like, uh-oh. If she's not all the way under, it doesn't count. So I like push her under, trying to get all the parts of her. Now we're rounding up on 10 seconds. She's like, her head's underwater.
She's got to start struggling.
She wasn't. She was fine. She was just like...
Just accepting her death and rebirth.
She was like, yeah, if it's a rebirth, you got to die first, right? So I'm like kind of half waterboarding her, half like drowning her. And the witnesses were the other elders, and they're like, bring her up. And I was like, oh, yeah. Yay. So that was kind of traumatic. I was like, I really screwed that. I knew that I screwed it up all the way through.
Like you didn't do the old, you got to like plant your foot in front of their toes so that you don't step on their toes.
No.
Oh, true.
I didn't know what I was doing. Truly. But anyway, I think we might have done it again.
You didn't practice baptizing people in the font with your companion when on slow days?
No.
You didn't slap on the jumpsuits, fill up the font, and be like, we got to warm our these muscles up, get the
Just
technique
choke
down.
slam someone into the water.
Oh, that was one of my
techniques.
favorite district trainings.
Practicing baptizing people.
I was like, I'm filling up the font, elders. Bring your jumpsuits. We got to practice.
That's not a terrible idea, because if I would have done that, I would have known to, there's some probably common mistakes that people make.
Also, I'm 100% joking. We'd get in a lot of trouble for doing that.
Okay. Hard to tell when you're joking sometimes. So anyway, that was the story of Pam and her baptism. And
I only physically baptized one person myself as well.
Really?
I had drawn the short straw, basically, where it was her contact to the church was her boyfriend. And she had broken up with her boyfriend. And she had become not an investigator anymore. And we kind of dropped her. This is before I got in the area. It was kind of understandable. And then she got in contact with us again, where I think she was just like, I don't care about my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend. I still want to join the church.
Yeah.
So then we got back in contact with her, and literally no one knew her. No ward missionary, no ward mission leader.
Yeah.
It was just one lady adamant about joining the church. And so it was between my companion and I. And we're like, well, who do you want to baptize you? And she was like, and just pointed at me. And I was like, what a great honor.
Do you think she remembers who you are?
No.
I wonder if, people talk about and I suppose this is accurate, where they, the idea that the person who baptizes you should be an important person to you.
Well, yeah, normally it was the fellowship.
Yeah.
The person that introduced them to the church and
Yeah.
was there for all their lessons and all that.
Yeah. I have one sort of related story to this. I think this was at Pam's baptism.
Prior to her near drowning.
Yeah. Actually, this might have been an earlier baptism, but I don't know if y'all remember Brother Whitehurst. He was sort of this white-haired Southern gentleman, Vietnam veteran.
Dr. Pepper sipping.
Mr. Dr. Pepper himself. Yeah. So he was he was always good to the missionaries, so we could always rely on him to do whatever we needed him to do. And so we needed a talk. We needed, I think, a baptism talk. Mm-hmm. And what the sister who was playing the prelude music, one of the songs that she played without any words sung to it was "If You Could Hide a Kolob."
Beautiful composition.
Beautiful composition. And Brother Whitehurst, in his talk, he gets up and he's like, one of those songs that I heard in the prelude music is a little song called "If You Could Hide a Kolob." And the words are quite beautiful, and I'd like to share them with you right now. And so he pulls out a hymn book.
All 5 verses.
He goes to 283, and he starts off like, "If you could hide to Kolob in the twinkling of an eye, and then continue onward with that same speed to fly." Do you think? And he goes on like this, in this sort of halted sort of speech, sort of a weird spoken word slam poetry way. All 5 verses of "If You Could Hide a Kolob." And if you know that song, you know that the last 2 verses are really just, there is no end to fill in the blank. There is no end to beauty. There is no end to might. There is no end to recess. There is no end to strife. Those aren't the lyrics, but he just went through the whole thing, and we were freaking out because this song is deep. This is heavy stuff in this
Yeah,
song.
It's really, you got to ask the question: if you could hide a Kolob.
Yeah,
So
that's
there's
A, what's Kolob? B, what's high?
Why would I want to high there?
What's highing? I believe it's to travel quickly.
Yes.
So the translation to the layman would be, if you could travel quickly to the star nearest to where God dwells, according to Mormon theology. Why would you do that? Or is that the question? If you could have Kolob. So anyway, we're very worried about this because we're looking at the investigator like, oh my gosh, are they gonna, the investigators and also the person getting baptized, and we're like, are they gonna hear this and be like, wait, what am I getting myself into? What's going on there? There's no end to...
Are we getting on a rocket ship to Kolob?
Kolob, yeah. When's the Kool-Aid coming out? And so we're like looking at them, and they loved it. They loved the whole thing. They're like, yeah. And it just sort of like, for me, it's sort of this lesson in like, I don't think people really understand half of what we're saying to them, investigators or otherwise. It's all a bit of a blur at first.
Alternatively, it really is attracting the kind of people that listen to that and are like, I am so all about this.
Yeah. Oh, so true. So anyway, that was sort of a close call that we everything turned out fine.
Just great.
I don't know how or what happened to any of these those people today. Don't know where they are, what they're doing. But maybe I should get back in touch with these people.
Where are they now?
Where are they now? We gotta set it up.
Speaking of like current day mission stories.
Sure. Yeah.
Just the other day, there's a guy who is joining our ward, getting baptized, and he was like hanging out with us all last night. Mm-hmm. And I hear them upstairs, and they're giving him like this pep talk because he has to do his baptismal interview.
Right.
And he's kind of like stressing out about it.
Yeah.
So I kind of meander upstairs to add my 2 cents. And I just come in, I'm just like, just don't get question 4 wrong. And they're all like, Lyndon, shut up.
Shut up about question 4.
It's like,
wait, what's question 4?
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, what's question 4? Because most people, like, they thought a baptismal interview is just like a temple recommend interview. And I'm like, it's not the same thing.
There's some tough questions.
There's some tough questions.
They're all subsets of question 4.
And well, I was interested because I was like, have your missionaries not prepped you for this? Did they not already give you the interview? And he's like, no. And I was just like, bad missionaries.
Oh, did you tell him the questions?
Yeah, we all pulled it out and kind of showed it to him because and they're all like, it is nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, come on, guys. It is something he could potentially worry about. And they're like, Lyndon, go away.
Get out of here, Lyndon, you naysayer.
And I was like, we got to get this guy on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because we gotta be like.
Do I know this person?
No.
Okay.
Like I barely met him at church this week.
Right. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yet another guest to put in the queue of guests we have lined up, knocking on our door to come on. See, I don't know where they would sit at this point. Where would they sit?
We've got our studio set up for 2.
Maybe we should like set it up in like an actual like a talk show sort of format, with like the desk and the couch and that'd be kind of cool.
Well, we got to get some current mission stories in here.
Yes, we do. I think we're rolling up on an hour.
Really?
We're rolling up on it. We're not there just yet, but we're rolling up on it.
Time flies when you're sitting at this desk.
These are comfy chairs. It's a cool setup. It's pretty neat. Anything you want to plug, Lyndon? You're like, if you're listening, and you're the person I had a job interview with, please give me the job.
Please hire me immediately. I'll plug the understudies for you.
Oh, thanks, bro.
I listened to that episode. As I often tell people, I'm like, I'm playing our episodes. I'm playing the podcast right now in my pocket on silent to drive listens up. And they're like, oh, that's funny. And I'm like, I'm not actually. But I did listen to it.
Yeah.
I got the Bluetooth hooked up to the speakers in the hot tub up at the cabin.
Yes.
I was like, perfect opportunity to listen to the latest episode.
So everyone around that hot tub could hear it as well.
Well, I don't know how much it travels out of the hot tub. We're not packed in there.
Okay.
But at the end of that episode, what did I hear?
You heard a song by my band, The Understudies, called Streetwise Lady.
Oh, it was so good.
It was good.
In the hot tub, jamming out at the end of the podcast to my favorite Understudies song.
That's right.
And I'm just like, oh boy, people must be flocking to the Understudies website to buy this album.
I don't know, man. We need to up the marketing for that, I think. Here's the thing.
Turns out people aren't flocking.
Turns out, I think if you don't, sort of put it easily in someone's face enough, they just aren't going to. They might see it once and be like, huh, cool, keep scrolling. So, yeah, check it out, though. Here's all that I ask. Check it out. Just listen to it. Just listen to the song. I think that's sort of like goal number one right now.
And if they want to buy the song, what website do they go to?
We are theunderstudies.com. It's on, we got a Facebook, Facebook and an Instagram. You can check it out. We have 5 songs. One of them I really think is quite good. And the other 4 are also good as well. So, yeah, check it out. We are theunderstudies.com. The Understudies on Facebook, Instagram. We are the Understudies on Instagram. Check it out. What else? Go to the website. Go to our website, themissionstoriespodcast.com. We'll plan on putting some new stuff up there. You can listen from Google Play. You can listen from SoundCloud, iTunes, all the good stuff. Email us, themissionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. There's a little field in our website where you can just type it in and then press submit, and it comes straight to our email.
Very nice. Very nice.
Isn't that cool? It's a cool feature. Check out the original videos that we made, the sketches, little funny sketches. You can check those out. So anyway.
Don't forget to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, right. Yeah. Do if you roast us in the comments and give us 5 stars, we'll read it on air. And
we need some brave souls to take the plunge.
I bet Jeremy would do it.
I don't know. I don't think Jeremy has an iPhone.
Oh, you're right. You're so right. Dang it.
Also, for any of the true and faithful that have made it this far into the episode, I apologize for saying only accountants listen to it.
Oh, he'll apologize. It'll just be when no one's listening. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you, Lyndon.
Thank you, Troy,
for continuing to do this with me.
Thank you to our future YouTube viewers.
Yeah. I hope the video works out. I hope this looks all right. But if not, we'll just post the audio.
And we'll never do it again.
We'll never do it again. Any last words, Lyndon?
Stay true and faithful.
Stay true and faithful. See you next time, everybody. Bye.